deal with institutional racism. I can think of anybody that I know that I would put it. It's just, it's in my vocabulary, but I haven't had to use it. Because, you know, it means a lot when you call somebody a racist. And I don't use that term. But I will tell you what I believe about institutional racism. And I can tell you that if I asked each of you in your own comfort zone, not in front of anybody else, if I asked each of you, do you think you're in some way or another a racist? Most people would say, no, I'm not. And truly believe that. And probably truly are. But I would have to tell you that institutional racism is something very different. That is where the norms, the values, and the beliefs, and the culture, and I put the culture in quotations, are so embedded in the institution, meaning in the library or in the department, that when somebody else that's different comes into that organization or into that institution and they're not accepted, that's what institutional racism is to me. So you can honestly say and honestly believe that you are not racist, and I would believe that because I think you're honest about that. But if you think of the concept of institutional racism, where it's the organization and the beliefs, it wouldn't be any different than, again, being, 5 women and hiring the first male librarian, or being 5 people in the department and hiring the first GLBT person. That's what I think we have to understand, is how do you break that? How do you break that? And that takes some risk. Another skill is being able to work besides people of color or other ethnicities, and then also be able to provide services and being sensitive to providing services to people in your community of many different cultures. And let me tell you something, providing services is not enough. We talk about libraries, and I'm going to talk about public libraries. Public libraries provide the opportunity of equal access to anything in that library, to librarians, to resources, to services, to anybody in the community. We can all say that we do that if we work in a public library. But it's the concept of equity of access. Equity of access tells me, yes, you provide, everybody has the same opportunity to walk into your public library and use any of the resources or services. But equity of access is, are you getting the underserved community into your library? That's the challenge. So we can all say, even in academic libraries, and we can say that in school libraries, we provide equal access to our resources and to our personnel and to our services for anybody in the university. Yeah. But why aren't we getting 60% of the enrollment at UNM coming to the library? Because we're not providing equity of access, because we're not reaching out to them. And then the last one is the skills in terms is learning the power of respect. And that stands by itself. You respect me, I respect you, I respect your culture, I respect your ethnicity, I respect, doesn't mean I have to necessarily like a particular food that might be part of your culture, but I respect, your culture. Okay, so I spent all this time and then I say come up with cultural competencies aren't enough. The thing is, if And I usually start my talk with disclaimers, and I realized I didn't. And the disclaimer that I would give today is that what you are hearing is from me, from Camilla, the person, and not necessarily is a reflection of ALA. I hope it is, but I'm not necessarily representing ALA. Okay, that's one disclaimer. The idea of being able to recognize the value of diversity. The other disclaimer I always come up with is, you may not agree with some of the things that I say today, but if I have provoked some thinking so that when you leave here this evening or tomorrow, something that I said either resonates with you or you may disagree, and that's okay. The fact that you're thinking about something that I said tonight, will have made, this all worth it. And what I would really love to be able to say is that when everybody walks out of this room, each one of you individually could walk through that door and say, I recognize the value of diversity. And not just ethnic, racial, but diversity in general. Creating a disadvantage-free environment is more than cultural competencies. And you know what? It's not just a library administrator's challenge, it's all of our challenge. Every one of us can play a role in doing this. Every one of us can play a role. We are not, and nobody in this room that's not an administrator is so insignificant that you can't become a culturally competent person, that you can value diversity, and that you can be part of providing a disadvantage-free environment. And in doing that, you develop a sort of a natural awareness and sensitivity, so that when something happens and you know it's not right, and it could be between you and a fellow coworker, you take the risk and have the guts to say, I don't appreciate that, or I disagree with you. You can be diplomatic. Don't think that any of you are so insignificant that you can't play a role here. There's a saying, anyone who thinks that their role is so insignificant to be effective has never been in bed with a mosquito. How do you do that? Students, let me tell you, if I were hiring, and in your resume, you have conferences attended, workshops attended, you don't think we don't pay attention to that? I do, or I did. And then I see that you attended a conference like this, everything else being equal with you and the 3 other candidates, that's extra points. Tells me that you have a sensitivity to diversity and that you have embraced diversity